This is a Kmart production, brought to you by Dudzik Chiropractic and MJB Electric.
Listener's discretion is advised. Zabills Podcast.
Welcome to Zabills Podcast. If this is your first time, we discuss the Bills games while we review two different Buffalo pizzas. Thank you and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the big show.
Welcome to the first edition of Breakfast with Zabills. Today we have Hank from Richmond, Virginia. Hank, how you doing?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Very good, very good. So Hank, we found you on the Buffalo Bills website, and you responded to our email. And the first question I have is, what did you think when you first saw that email come in your inbox or junk folder?
Interestingly enough, so went to our I think it was at the info at Rich Brow Brewing, and we're not really sure what to think about it at first. And one of the partners forwarded it along to me, and I read it, and I was like, man, this is awesome. It's funny because he knows I'll talk Buffalo Bills to anybody all day long, whoever it is. I don't care, even if they don't like the Bills or whatever. And he's like, this is your wheelhouse, man. And I saw it, and to be honest with you, I'm pretty pumped to be here, and really happy you guys reached out.
Excellent.
Hank, talk to me about your history with the Buffalo Bills. How long you've been a fan? We've got a bunch of questions about that, but give us the background knowledge. How long have you been a Buffalo Bills fan for?
Sure. Man, forever. I mean, unfortunately, I grew up in the 90s. I was 5 when we took our first trip to the old, the old Super Bowl there for the first time of consecutive times. And not that I really remember that much, but I remember the feeling during the game, just the hype and all the chaos, and just feeling like, what's going on here? And then the next day, the ensuing misery of, oh, this is something you sign up for, and it's more of, it's not just a sports team, it's a way of life sort of thing. Oh man.
Yeah, our one of our other guests on our host on our show, Brendan, he had to sit his son down recently and explain to him almost like the birds and bees talk, but about being a Bills fan. Like, son, you got to get used to this.
The pain that goes into it.
I think, as soon as the old Chiefs beat us this year, I took all my Bill stuff, put it in the attic, and pretty quickly after grabbed my Buffalo Sabres hat and threw that on. Not that they're doing much better, but
yeah.
We know the pain. We certainly know the pain. And I was telling Kyle this earlier. I'm like, buddy, if people don't respond back to us, as we reach out to talk about the Buffalo Bills in the offseason, I think people need some time to recover. It's like almost a wound, like a war wound. It's like you need some time to recover a little bit, before you jump right in it. But thank you so much for letting us pick your brain. Talk to us. Why Virginia? Why did you make your way to Virginia? And then Hold
on.
What?
Hank, are you a transplant? Are you born and raised from Buffalo?
Born and raised. I'm from Lockport.
Oh,
Lockport,
pride of Lockport.
Okay, Mike.
Lockport Lions.
What's your question for him?
Well, my wife probably won't love the answer, but are you a pizza oven or Lock City guy?
Well, this is there's not even really a question. It's pizza oven, hands down.
So, we one of the things that we do, I'm sure Kyle explained to you, is we will have a couple pizzas every week and then judge them against each other. And of course, we did that matchup one week, and I had to go home and explain to my wife that everyone picked pizza oven, and she made me sleep on the couch. She's born and raised in Lockport too.
Yep. Oh, nice. I will say Lock City it's not a far cry from second, but I'll only kind of go there if for whatever reason pizza oven's closed. So
I just sent my wife a quick text right now, and I said the guy that we're interviewing grew up in Lockport, and he's a pizza oven guy, and she wrote back, I wouldn't know him then.
Well, Hank, so we'll get pizzas that are kind of comparable, and then we'll just do a review on them just to, bring something else to a Bills podcast. And that was the first time I had ever had Lock City or pizza oven, and the pizza oven reminded me of a bocce, and bocce's has nostalgia to me, and it's one of my favorites. So that's why I was more of a pizza oven fan. It had a softer cook on it, and sauce was very similar to bocce.
Absolutely, yeah. Bocce's a great. Yeah, that's great too.
Yeah,
I mean, I went to University of Buffalo as well, so we were
Bulls.
always ordering all over the place. But yeah, when I'm home, especially now, is not as much as I would like. It's usually it's the holidays, and we'll have a big meal, and then about 2 hours later, so we ordered a party pizza from Pizza Oven, or what? Sheet
Nice.
pizza.
Only way, right?
Tell us about, as a transplant from Buffalo, we're awash in wealth of pizzas. What is the pizza market like in Richmond? What's it like in Virginia? I know we're spoiled Western New Yorkers, but what do you have down there? Is it comparable? What's the go-to pizza if I want to go to Richmond?
It's interesting, it's kind of a mix of a lot of stuff. I mean, there's a place down here that's a pretty big place, and it's great. Not my favorite, but in a pinch, it's called. Oh my God! Of course, you just said that. I totally slipped my mind. Oh, Bottoms Up Pizza.
Okay,
it's almost a little bit more like it's kind of like a mix between like Chicago style and I don't know, like Detroit or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It's a little bit more
crust.
like thicker, deep dish.
Okay.
But not actually made in the dish.
Okay.
Good in the pinch, but to be honest with you, and this is probably going to explain it all, the best kind of it is called Chesapeake, and it's got crab on it and got all sorts of stuff. So
my God.
At that point, I mean, it's really good.
That's fantastic.
It's no curled up
cup and char
pepperonis trapped in grease, but sweet sauce. But I mean, it's good. It's good.
Hey, so the Chesapeake pizza, do they put bay seasoning all over that too?
They not in this particular one, but there are certainly other pizzas that have it in there. It's a pretty polarizing seasoning.
Okay.
So, you don't want to you don't want to go overboard with that, and that's kind of one of those things that you got to tread lightly with. But I have had pizzas with that on there down here for sure.
Wow, I'm thinking like. You're saying crab on your pizza. I'm thinking like, man, this is nuts. This is like the pineapple Hawaiian pizza that I can't do either. I'm more a traditional guy.
They do a lobster pizza at Red Lobster, and it's fantastic.
God.
So it's one of my favorites.
Sounds good.
Okay, back to Sean's first question before I interrupted him about if you grew up. Why transplanting to Virginia, and why?
Sure. So went to University of Buffalo, and was there for a while. And I actually had a family member we've had family down in the Virginia area for years, and it was just time. I've been in Buffalo my whole life. It was time to get out. So I moved down to DC, Northern Virginia, and then I met my wife down there, and she actually went to school in Richmond. Said, if you can convince me to move to Richmond, let's do it. Right. So that literally, a couple weekends later, we get down here, and I'm a big beer guy, as you know. I mean, partner in Rich Brow Brewing, and this is a really up and coming beer scene at the time, and still currently is, and a really big brewery, kind of hype train sort of style brewery opened up at the time, and it was also like at the time it's 2015 best small city outdoor city in the U.S. By some sort of travel magazine or whatever. But everything was firing on all cylinders. It's a really, really cool spot. And at the same time, one of my partners who's in commercial real estate had reached out as he's like, I got a really good idea for you. And some things are in the works of acquiring an old brewery name and patent name and trademark of a brewery that's been around since the 1930s. And it just kind of all the stars aligned, and we ended up in Richmond. So,
my goodness. What's the reception? What's the atmosphere like in Virginia for not only Buffalo Bills, but for football, National Football League football? And what was the overall takeaway from wanting to create a Bills backer bar? Like what was the reception when you talked to, hey, I think I want to do a Bills backer bar, and what was the response from the surrounding Richmond community?
Sure. So we opened up the brewery July 2019, and we got about 8 months in, and then everything kind of went, belly up. And so those first couple of years weren't really a true indication of like running the business day to day and all that. But once everything cleared up and the pandemic was over, we started kind of just chatting with people. And obviously, we're still watching games throughout that whole time, right? I mean, that never goes away. But and we started opening up, and just people would just come in, and they knew I was a Bills fan, whether I forget to take my Bills hat off or whatever. And somehow it doesn't matter who came in throughout the week. I would find somebody in some shape or form that was a Bills fan. And we just started chatting, and there were a couple guys lived around in the area and a couple groups. And I said, if we open this up or we started showing the games, would you guys show up? I mean, they know I'm there watching it every Sunday everywhere anyways. And it was just kind of this organic, oh man, my buddy's from Buffalo, or my work colleague is from Buffalo. I'll let him know. And that one thing led to another. And so we officially looked into it. This is just kind of, us just sitting down and watching the games. And so we looked into it, and don't quote me on this, but when we looked into it at the time, you go on the Buffalo Bills backer website and you apply to be a backer bar.
Oh, you have to apply.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
You
did not know that.
You don't just get it. You have to actually write in and apply to it. And they have to say yay or nay. And we had reached out to them, and they said, "I'm sorry, there are 3 backer bars in the area. We don't have any room for any more." And we're like, "Well, that's kind of weird." I'm like, "What are they?" And they listed them off, and they said Hurley's, they said this other place, and they said Anchor Bar. I said, Anchor Bar? What do you mean?
In Virginia, huh? The Anchor Bar in Virginia.
Anchor Bar franchised, came down to Richmond, Virginia, was open for, again, time frame, don't quote me, but, let's say about a year and a half. For whatever reason, just couldn't make it work. And I went in there too, and I was excited, man. I mean, you're seeing Sabres, you're seeing Bills gear, all sorts of stuff. And I just couldn't get the wings right, and it wasn't as well received as I think other people were thinking. And so they closed. And so we said to them, we said, "Hey, Anchor Bar closed like 3 years ago." And they said, well, listen, if you can prove that they closed, you guys can have a designation. So we went on, he went on there and said, Anchor Bar, Richmond, Virginia, permanently closed, sent it to them, and they're like, okie doke, you're up. So we got the designation.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Can you just clarify for me, who's they? It's just not the Bills, right? This is some...
No. It's whoever runs the Buffalo Bills backer official website. It's kind of a strange thing, right? Like I guess you could just technically just say, yeah, I'm open and I'm a Buffalo Bills backer bar, but you can actually go on billsbackerbar.com and look up any city, anywhere in the world, really. And what it will do is it has this database and it'll register, and they'll say, all right, you're in Richmond, Virginia. Here's 3 places.
Okay.
Check them out.
Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah.
So if you're not, we've had a number of people come in and just say, yeah, I saw you guys on the website and I came in because of that. But if you're not, and you're just an official bar or you're a Buffalo Bills backer bar, you're kind of more or less unofficial. Right?
Okay.
Is it very often you run into transplant Buffalonians like yourself?
So it's odd. So when we started watching the games and kind of put the word out that we were a Bills backer bar, I had 10, 15 people show up, and the guy, I start talking to everybody, and Guy said, "Oh, where are you from?" He goes, "Well, I'm from West Seneca." "Oh, where are you from?" "I'm from Lockport." I'm like, "What do you mean? Where from?" We grew up 10 minutes from each other. I mean, it's the craziest thing. But it happens all the time. And I make sure that we have our Buffalo Bills flag hanging in the brewery still. Even if it's off season and it wasn't the best outcome, but anytime somebody comes in there, it's like you're talking to a best friend, and they're so excited to talk about the Bills and talk about who's not going to be there, who is going to be there, and it's just kind of a little piece of home.
Is your bar area, wherever you guys do all this watching, do you have a lot of Bills decor?
We do, yeah. There's it's not like crazy, although I say that. So somebody had gifted us, and I know, hear me out. 2018, somebody gifted us a signed Allen jersey that he won at an auction.
Oh.
He was like, "Yeah, you guys can have it. I'm a Cowboys fan."
You guys interested in a Sammy Watkins jersey?
Yeah, thank God we passed on that one. So yeah, he just gave it to us, and we framed it up and hung it up, and we had done some charity work as well for. It was basically they kind of do like the silent auctions, and they raise money for different organizations, but we set up a table and did a couple silent auctions over the years, and to thank us for it, they were like, down here they didn't have any Bill stuff. They had like weird stuff you'd see, like Clinton, and like Brady was on there, and I had a hard time putting that up at my brewery.
Yeah,
just stuff like that, and the idea is people get on it silently, and they can buy these things, and it raises money, and it goes for a good cause. But so at the end of it, they said, "Hey, I really appreciate you guys allowing us to come in here. Is there anything or any sports memorabilia you guys want?" And I said, "If you have any Josh Allen stuff, that'd be awesome." And they sent me like 2 or 3 of these, like probably 2 foot by 3 foot. It's not actually signed, but it's like the fake signature, But so we got those up all over the place. I have a big Wegmans Buffalo Bills flag, little Stephon Diggs cutouts, little football. I mean, yeah, there's stuff all over the place. We have a box of Josh Jack sitting right as you walk in at the brewery right behind our menu.
Nice. So on the Bills, I have a 2-part question. What are your thoughts on next season? How you think that's going to go? But before we even get there, what do you think they need to do at the upcoming draft to help with next year?
Sure. I tell myself this every year that I'm not going to start doing it and looking at the mock drafts and, we're going to get this guy and this guy, because it doesn't matter. I mean, Bean's going to be Bean. I mean, I have full faith in Bean. I mean, everybody gets to the end of this year and they say, we have 24 free agents, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, because he signed 1-year deals, and that's perfect because half those guys we don't want back.
Right.
So I'm fine with that. But he just always he finds ways to do stuff, and my confidence in him is just I'm fully confident that he'll figure it out. Like, you look at Rizal Douglas, where did he come from?
Right.
Great pickup.
We had no idea he was even on the chopping block, and I mean, there were Green Bay fans that were like, what just happened? Mm-hmm. So I think he'll still pull some stuff out, and I mean, you got to look at it, right? I mean, Diggs is mad at himself. All this trade stuff about Diggs, it's not happening. That would be stupid from a cap situation. But I do think that we do need a number 2 wide receiver.
So he's not a fan of Davis.
Davis was fine, but to be honest with you, I don't really care.
Hank, I bring that up because I'm the only Gabe Davis fan in our group, and they give me shit all the time. But they gifted me a Davis signed jersey in a case. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And listen, I don't think I think he's a really good player.
He's just inconsistent too often.
Yeah, I guess he's got their work ethic, and he fits the Buffalo Bills mold, and he busts his ass, and he's in a locker room guy, but he's inconsistent. You're absolutely right. Other than that other, a couple of years ago KC game, but I'm looking more towards the Kincaids and the Shakirs, and I'll tell you what, Shakir, that's my man. Like, oh man, he showed up out of nowhere. Beasley fell off the radar. We essentially slotted him right in. I think we waited a little too long to put him into the scheme, as McDermott does. But man,
you might have answered this already, but non-Josh Allen, who's your favorite player currently on the Buffalo Bills?
Offensive side or defensive side?
Your call, buddy. Your call, Hank.
Matt Milano, hands down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a beast.
Yeah.
Every single time. Well, unfortunately, he got hurt, but every single time he's on the field, he's in every single play. The guy's phenomenal, and I hope he comes back, and it's not this kind of lag time like Trey White and Miller, but I really hope he comes back and he's ready to go, because he's fun to watch. I think it was it must have been last year, and I forget what game it was, but he absolutely laid this guy out, and you just saw it, and you're just like, yes. Everybody was fired up. They got behind. I mean, he just seems like such a good dude, and he's in every single play, and I love it.
The hit that stands out for me with Milano, it was against the Jets, but I think it was Mike White was actually the quarterback. This is a couple of years ago, and he came through the line and hit him so hard it hurt me. I'm not sure how White got up after that, but holy moly, that's perfect.
You're right. Yeah.
Perfect football. I mean, that was textbook, and how that guy stood up is beyond me.
Right. So to answer your question, back to the draft. I think wide receiver. I think we gotta strengthen up the D tackle room. Epinesa, I don't care. Let him go. Don't care.
Okay.
I think that I think we need to bring Floyd back. I know he's a little older in years, but
he did have a good season.
He had a great season. Although he said pay me or I'm out, which
I saw that.
A little rough, but well, I shouldn't say that about Epinesa was fine, but maybe we just didn't give him enough opportunity. But there were a couple games there when we did, and he was playing lights out, which was nice. But I think we could backfill him in the draft and do a little bit better.
Well, I hope Rousseau shows up a little bit more.
Back, right? So.
Yeah. With Milano alongside Terrell Bernard, that'll be fun.
Well, that'll be fantastic. That might be one of the storylines I'm really looking forward to, is watching those two control the center of the field, basically, just because we kind of found almost our Milano replacement just when we needed him. And to have them both healthy, back together, playing with each other, I think it'll be fantastic.
Hank, what do you think about the safety situation?
It's tough.
Is Hyde gone and DeMar's sliding in, or what?
So it's tough, right? I think that little stinger that Hyde had last year shook him.
Yeah.
And he started asking a lot of questions about life after football. And you saw his wife post about, we love the Bills, we were welcomed here and all. And he's been, the textbook just stand up Buffalo Bill. You can't really say anything else about him. And to be honest with you, I hope he retires a Bill.
Yeah.
I think if he doesn't give it one more on one more year for us on hopefully a budget deal. I hate to say that because he's been stellar, but he's on the wrong side of 30, and I think he is questioning that whether he wants to stay there or continue to play football. I don't have the inside information. Time will tell. But same thing with Poyer. I think we need to draft somebody, get somebody in there this year, have him work under Poyer. Poyer did a great job for us. Been phenomenal. His wife's annoying. That's a different story. And we got to get somebody else. Like Kair, I guess he was playing hurt.
Yeah.
I still have high faith in him. He seemed like it's like a personality to have the playbook in the plane waiting for me, blah, 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 blah. And he gets there and he kind of hasn't done anything yet, to be honest with you. Had a couple good games here and there, and I hope he develops even further. But as for DeMar, he's got his games. I think he's more of a figurehead at this point, to be honest with you. It's almost a tough thing to let him go because he's a figurehead. I know it sounds terrible.
Well, someone on the podcast one day asked, what would be the fan reaction if, you have to keep him because of what happened, or if you let him go, are we are the Bills the villains because they let that guy go? Kind of a vibe.
Sure, it's crossed my mind a lot. I've had the conversation. Yeah, call me a terrible person. I don't think he's a number one.
No, he was a 3.
Yeah, and even this year when he got in there, I mean, look at that little trick play. That thing was. I think everybody wanted that one back. I was,
another member joked and said, "Do you think that cost him comeback player of the year?" And then somebody said, "Well, they voted on that before that play happened."
That's probably.
Sometimes we're kind of mean. We're realists.
But that's the thing, though, right? I mean, these are the actual questions that we have to ask ourselves. Is he a figurehead, or what's he doing?
Yeah.
I think that he's done a lot for the community. I mean, hell, the guy died and came back, and
yep.
We all know exactly. We know exactly where we were when we were watching that game. Who we were with and how you felt.
Yep.
Is he any good? I think he's a depth guy.
Yeah.
And it could be a value guy, but if it's something where we need to cut him and save some cap or something like that, not that he's really that expensive or anything, but we decided to pay him out, which I think was the right move when he was in the hospital and recovering.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was a really stand up move, but I'm not sure we owe him any much more than that.
Right.
I don't know. That's so I think that we need to find. I think Kair needs to get his act together, and he needs to be the number one or number two for that position that we needed him to be, and we need to get somebody else in there under Poyer, or at least trade for somebody that's got some youth.
Right, because then you got to worry about Trey White and the Von Miller situation. Like, what do you do with that guy?
Yeah,
we all hope he gets arrested so we can ditch him.
Sure, and I think you saw it. Trey White's another one of those guys that, God,
if he could just stay healthy.
Just stay healthy, man, please. He's a great guy. He's a community guy. He's a hell of an athlete. He hasn't been right in better part of 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Yep.
How do you come back from that? Just mentally, he's going to be playing scared. When he tore his Achilles, and everybody saw it and go, "Yep, he's out." And I don't think anybody was more pissed, obviously, than himself. But I mean, same thing. He's getting up there, and I say that it's terrible to think that 30 is up there because,
right?
Hell, I'd go back in a second, right? But
yeah, no kidding.
but yeah, that's what. At this point, a lot of these guys need to restructure. They're going to have to. There's no doubt. White had a lot of incentives, right? If I'm not mistaken, for last year. He's going to have to restructure and to keep him. And same thing, we keep him around. Hopefully he can recover. And if he can't, get him in there to have somebody train under him for a while. And, unfortunately it's a business and nobody's harsher than us watching him and saying, you know what, screw it, get him out of there, get somebody brand new and get the new shiny new object in there that isn't going to break. So
we're hoping Bean can work some magic with the draft and bring in a couple of obviously cheap, inexpensive, but soon to be star, whether it's linemen or corners or receivers. We're hoping that he can work his Kincaid like magic this draft coming up, because they're going to need some help at the cap. The cap is not their friend.
Absolutely. The one thing I'll say about Kincaid too is they traded up or down or whatever you call it. But and they jumped the Cowboys, and it just after the next scene was showing Jerry Jones's face, and he was just stunned. And I think just purely from that standpoint alone, that draft was worth it.
Right.
Skip Bayless is a big Cowboys fan, and he wanted Kincaid, and he felt they were going to get Kincaid. And when Buffalo traded up, he was fuming. It was awesome because I don't like Skip Bayless.
I love it. Oh man, anything that screw the Cowboys. Nobody likes them.
I have the hypothetical question I'm going to ask everyone going forward, Sean.
Go for it.
Okay, Hank. If you could guarantee a Bills Super Bowl, but it required you to hire Bill Belichick, guaranteed Super Bowl, guaranteed, sign with the devil, would you do it?
God, I've talked about this and milled over it so long.
That's funny.
Well, I get into a lot of these.
We're split. We're split on it in our group.
Yeah.
Because he's not a part of the story, so it's kind of like, yeah, you win, but it's not as sweet because he's not,
Right. It's like, doing a deal with the enemy.
Yep.
Not be enemy with the enemy.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Anyways, so that's tough.
All right. Well, that's a good enough answer.
Yeah. I thought about it across my mind, and I mean, it's one of those like one before I die, right?
Yeah,
so
that's what we say.
I think if that was the case and it was guaranteed, I would sign myself up for that.
Okay,
yeah.
I would do it. I would have to.
That leads me into part two. I wasn't a Sean McDermott fan for the last couple seasons. He has coached a team defensively to play out of their mind when they shouldn't have, but yet I still am worried when it comes to time management and closing out games.
Yeah. No, I think it just always seems like we make the wrong decision in the seconds that matter. 13 seconds, 4 seconds. What, this year is a little unfortunate. Bass missed it, which that's another story. You don't draft a kicker unless you're going to make those kicks.
Right.
But I think that I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall after the 13 seconds conversation with Frazier and to see what happened at that point, because something happened organizationally and McDermott was like, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to do it all. I'm not relying on anybody to make the wrong call. It just, something happened there. And I think this last year he did a great job. So, I mean, it's good to be at that game, but we got to make it past those seconds, those split-second decisions, and it always comes down to 2 or 3 plays per game that we want back, or we could have done differently.
Well, especially
like
against
Hamlin trying to play James Cook. I mean, it's just not going to happen.
And especially against the Chiefs, you cannot let Mahomes have the ball last. Just can't.
Right. Yep. You just.
And it comes down to the Bills have no real playoff experience, and you're going up against Andy Reid and Mahomes. Mm-hmm. Those two alone. And Kelsey.
It's tough. I mean, I love McDermott. Same thing. I think he's a locker room guy. I know he seems all quiet, but he can light a fire under some asses if he could really mess somebody up if he's pissed off. But I think he's a great, great, great defensive mind. That being said, I think that we just, we need more of an offensive mindset. He did a hell of a job with the kind of beat up cast that we had last year, and as far as on the defensive side, but I don't know. We got to get somebody in there that can make the right decisions at the right time. Not saying get rid of him. I'm just saying just bolster and help him out.
Yeah.
So
I'll answer Mike. Sorry, go ahead.
Go for it. Yeah.
I'll answer Mike's question when he asked what we should do in the offseason. Mike, my answer is build a team that can outscore Kansas City and everybody else.
I agree
That's
with
it.
That. Yep.
And I thought they were going to. I thought they were going to do
5
it.
Years.
Yeah. Like Sean has said, you have arguably one of the best quarterbacks to play the game. We have him somehow, and are we going to waste his entire career here?
Yeah.
It's scary. It's scary to think like you got this stud, like our favorite call-in listener, Rob, Mr.
Yes,
Domino's,
yes.
sent me a video of, you shared it with your wife yesterday. A buddy of mine sent me, Hank, a clip from X with the Bills when they drafted Josh Allen. And it was a group of like 8 guys, and they're like, oh my God, here's our pick. And the number, whatever, 7th pick, Josh Allen, Buffalo. Everyone's like, oh, what the fuck? You know, like they lost their mind. Like they were so pissed that we drafted him. And then we're blessed with this human being that can do all kinds of things on the field, but we just can't get him to the Super Bowl.
So there was, you guys have probably seen this, but there was a couple of years ago, Josh was reading, I think it was last year, maybe 2 years ago, but Josh was reading the reactions from Bills fans from when he was drafted. It was just phenomenal. And to be honest with you, myself included, I mean, he had some accuracy issues, and, you know, my group of, we had eight Buffalo buddies, and I just looked out, and my buddy was just like, wrong Josh, you know, thinking that Rosen was still, and the only one that are doing well in that whole draft class, Baker's, I don't know about Baker.
Yeah. He's a poor man's Josh Allen. I mean, that's what Baker Mayfield is.
Yeah, I say he's yet to be determined. I mean, he's already on Team 3 now, so whatever. Rosen's probably in the CFL by now. I don't know where the hell he is.
Right.
You know, and Darnold, where the hell's Darnold?
He's back up on the Niners.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Is he really?
Yeah, I just found that out the day of.
He's the only one out of all of us, all of those guys, that has a Super Bowl ring.
Right.
Yeah.
For riding the pine.
No, they didn't win.
God.
No, they lost. You're right.
Oh, shit. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right.
He's the first one to go to it, right?
Yeah, he's the first one out of the first round. There is a quarterback from that draft. I forget. I don't remember his name. That does have a ring. He was a backup on
Professor Pizza would know his name.
He was a backup on New England when they won their last one. So this random quarterback is the only one to have a ring from that entire class.
Jeez. and you know, the other guy is Lamar. I mean, Lamar's doing a hell of a job.
But can't win the playoffs.
I can't win the playoffs.
Yeah.
Oh, but look who he lost to.
Well,
Right.
There you go.
Right.
How big is your following at your place? What and it's Rich Brow Brewing?
Rich Brow Brewing. Yep.
Rich Brow Brewing.
We're down in downtown Richmond. So we opened up as official designation Bills Backer Bar 1 year ago. So, a little over a year ago. And the consistency piece isn't always there. There's just a lot of moving parts, but you know, we pretty consistently have, 10 to 15 people there. No one's louder than myself. And it's funny too, because you talk to people and they're like, I'm going to bring my buddy and his wife's from Buffalo, and I'm going to and then when the stars do align, and it's later in the year, we start getting closer to the 30, 40s and then 30, 40 people in there, which is still as Bill's Backer Bar is pretty small compared to some of the other cities and places I've been. I lived in BC and go to backer bars out there, and places would be packed with 50, 60 people every single Sunday. So we're working on it, and
hopefully we'll help you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be great. Get the word out. Please do. It's a lot of fun, and it's fun to just sit there and you find yourself a quarter into a conversation, and you're cursing the Bills, and then you're happy about the Bills, and you're like, where'd you say you're from? It's add a beer in the mix, and it's just a good time. So
we're trying to reach out to a number of fans outside of Western New York, so we're going to have a couple of common questions. But my question for you that we're probably going to pose to a bunch of these people we talk to: what is your favorite Bills moment as a Buffalo Bills fan?
Oh, good question, Sean.
That was a good question.
You might need some time to think about it. Take because you want to kick yourself later. But as a Buffalo, I'm from Richmond, Virginia. I come into your fine establishment. I walk in there. I look at the memorabilia around the room, and I said, "What's the greatest moment you've ever had as a Buffalo Bills fan?" We've got three parts. We've got the Super Bowl eras. You're a little young for those, but we got the drought era, and we have the Josh Allen era. Mm-hmm. What resonates with you as this is why I'm a fan. This is why you need to be a fan. If you're talking to people in Richmond, follow this team. What's your
Wow, Sean.
Oh, I was drawing it out to give you time to think. I was really stalling for you, Hank. I was stalling for you.
That's something that we might need to create another podcast for that one. That's going to take some time, but no, man, I think that 17 years of a drought was rough. We get the Lost Moons, and then we get this guy, and we get this guy, and we're like, well, this is the answer. And Josh Allen comes riding in, and it's such a Bills story. It's this guy who had to write his own damn letters to try to get into college because nobody would accept him because he was a big guy and he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. And somebody gave him a shot. And that's, it was Wyoming, right? Wyoming University, was
right.
It? Uh-huh. And then Bean and McDermott get in there and they scout this guy and we were just talking about it. Everybody thought we had the wrong guy, but it turns out that it's Allen. And really, like, looking back at it now, we were thinking it was the wrong decision, but just watching him play, it's so fun. And it finally feels good to have a quarterback on our team after all these, people who have tried and failed. And I think that to pin down an exact moment, that's tough, man. That's a tough one to say, but just, I would say probably drafting Allen and just having him, even that first year, just watching him kind of like, well, the verdict's not really out yet, but this dude's crazy.
Right.
What was it the first year? I read some article. It was like watching somebody with I forget it, I'm going to butcher this thing, but it was like, look, somebody like downs a bottle of whiskey and just goes out there and just plays lights out or something like that. And that's how Allen goes every single time. And unless he's kind of restricted by the Bills brass and they just kind of, as we kind of saw at the beginning of the year, and then Brady took over and they kind of just let him loose. But I don't really know if that answers the question, but it's just kind of like when we drafted Allen, I would say, it just really like kind of instilled hope back into a city that has been down in the dumps for so long that he was the guy that kind of rode in on the white horse.
Do you see, sorry, Kyle, do you see a lot of Josh Allen jerseys in Virginia?
It's funny. So when I moved down here, I would be driving and I'd be like, "Oh yeah, go Bills!" and "Oh, go Bills!" And I started seeing so, "Oh shit, there's a lot of Bills fans down here." And obviously look further, you see number 17 everywhere, and it's everywhere. I mean, it's awesome. I shouldn't say everywhere. It is, and maybe it's because I'm looking for it, right? But or I notice it's kind of one of those things where you'll just see a little bit of an emblem on the back of a car, or you'll see a license plate, or you'll see something like that. But so Allen jerseys, if they're coming to the brewery, absolutely. Are they rocking them all the time? No, but there's a lot of logos. There's a lot of there's a lot of indication that we're there. Someone would be driving by and they'll just say "Go Bills" in the back, and you're like, yes.
I have two questions. Are you surrounded by Commanders jerseys? Ravens jerseys?
It's it's kind of a weird mix. You'd think it'd be mostly Commanders, and for the most part it is. For whatever reason, I hate to say this, but good old America's team somehow still is just absolutely everywhere all the time, and it just disgusts me. And I'm like, what, guys? Is he like? I can't stand your team. The fans are even worse, and it's still, I think, probably one of the most sold apparel out there. So even if it's mostly Cowboys and mostly Commanders, I don't really see a ton of Ravens down here.
Okay.
But yeah, it's mostly Commanders and Cowboys, unfortunately.
How far are you from Washington, D.C.?
100 miles.
Well, depending on 95 north, that could be an hour and a half, or it could be 3 hours, or it could be a lot longer. So about an hour and a half away from DC.
Okay. I had one more question. I forgot what it was.
Hank, do you have any questions for us? I mean, I know you're a transplant.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
Okay.
The thing about Josh Allen that I absolutely love is that now with him, you have the feeling when you watch these games, the Bills can score on any fucking play they have the ball.
You know, I was going to say to support Hank's pick.
1,000%.
To support Hank's pick of moment drafting Josh Allen. Hank, I can tell I'm older than you are, and I'm definitely the oldest person in this studio right now. I was in high school during those glory years, and I remember watching every one of those Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed games, and just knowing that we could win, knowing we're going to win. If we're losing, we're going to come back. And having Josh now is the first time since then that I've had that feeling. I feel like we have an opportunity to win every single game that we're in. So that supports your choice of drafting Allen. It changed the landscape of everything.
Isn't that crazy? It is a feeling, and then we get later and later into the season, and you start going, "Oh, that was a bad call, or that was a bad play," or why does Diggs have to drop it? He catches every single other ball. Why does he have to drop it? That wasn't even contested. You know, I think that we're there. I think we're knocking pretty hard on that door. And,
couple players
and
away.
just a couple key pieces that we need to move to, or just stay healthy.
Yep.
You know,
right?
Yeah. Sean, you said something to me the other day that was very insightful. We wouldn't have a new stadium if we didn't have Josh Allen, probably.
Yeah, We're kind of knee deep in the whole new stadium. I believe circa 2026 is going to open, and there's virtual reality places you can go and see what the actual stadium's going to look like. They're talking about ticket prices and all that fun jazzy stuff. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's hard to believe they can go through all of that if there wasn't Josh Allen.
I think that's 100% accurate. What was the? I mean, certainly that's what's it even called now? Is it Highmark or Ralph Wilson?
It's Highmark.
Highmark, right?
Yep. Don't know what the new one's going to be called.
Highest bidder.
Is that what it's going to be?
I don't know what is going to be the highest bidder.
Hey, Dr. Mike, a little shout out to you. Maybe it could be the Winning Smile Stadium.
That could be good.
Duds at Chiropractor Stadium. Those are a couple of sponsor friends. Yeah. Hank, one last thing, and then stay on after we're done recording. I got a couple things to ask you.
Sure.
Okay, so if fans are going down to Richmond, where do they find you? What's your address?
Yeah, absolutely. So Rich Brow Brewing, we're 5 South 20th Street, Richmond, Virginia 23223. You can also go on. That's terrible. We've got a Facebook page as well. Richmond, Virginia, Buffalo Bills backers. I don't know how it was available, but it was. And you can also go on, Bills backer bar search and kind of plug it in, and it'll pop it up through there.
Okay. And then what is your brewery specialty?
Oh man. So we brew a lot of stuff. So we kind of have a little something for everybody. But we have a really, really good Imperial coffee stout with a local roastery down here. Just super tasty, really just a great beer. Whiskey barrel Imperial stouts from a distillery down here we have it's called Rich Brow Lager. Go figure.
Okay.
It's actually the first beer to roll off a bottling line after Prohibition.
Wow. That's a good fact.
In name, obviously, it's like the same recipe. It was a little bit different back then.
Sure.
Than it is now.
Better ingredients now, I'm sure.
So we're in, and we actually even have Imperial sours. So
ooh.
Yeah,
I like sours.
That kind of appeals to more like the wine and cider crowd.
That's me.
But really a little bit of something for everybody, and even down to a beer that we named after a festival that we have every year. in July is called Brewtown USA. It's an American light lager. It's just real easy drinking. It's my go-to when I'm watching a Bills game, and I know I'm going to throw a few back because it's 4.2%, and you can have 3 of them, 4 of them, and not feel bad about yourself after.
I'm eyeballing the 13 o'clock. If I have one of those, I'm going to bed, though.
That it's so good.
Yeah.
So that's a really pretty cool thing, and the flavors of those, we change it so it's a base stout, and we actually run it through a Randall system. And we actually, we still have some Dogfish. They came up with it and stuff, but right now it's chocolate covered cherries, obviously for.
How long would it take me to get there?
That's usually a request when I come home is to fill a couple of those up in crowlers. We don't even can that. We just draft only and in crowlers, and we rotate it all the time. And even to like Christmas time, I'll put in peppermint bark and stuff like. I mean, it's just phenomenal. It turns out really nicely. So,
well, the next time you come home, reach out to us, and I'll place my order, and then we can have you in person in the studio.
Yeah, he could be on the pizza panel.
There you go.
Do you also enjoy bourbon?
So it's funny. I wish I had more of an appreciation for it. It's too acidic for my stomach, which is very unfortunate. But
which is odd. Yeah, that's odd to me because IPAs are bad on my stomach, and I love bourbon.
Yeah, it's a I don't know. It's weird, right? I'm sure there's a 23andMe explanation for that, but whatever. My favorite type of beer style is the bourbon barrel imperial style. I mean, it just is. It's one of my favorite. I could, in the middle of the Richmond summer, which is brutal. I would very easily drink an imperial stout that's barrel aged bourbon. I mean, it's
10%.
For whatever reason, I love it. But straight bourbon, I can't do. Like,
neither can I.
I don't know why.
I only ask because in addition to pizza reviews, we've been doing bourbon reviews because a couple of guys love bourbon on the thing, and they're trying to get me to.
Cool.
They're trying to find one that I like, and I've not really come across one that I like. They all taste like gasoline.
So we actually have Bowman down here.
Oh, nice.
Little place I'm sure that you guys have heard of.
We actually had some Bowman a couple weeks ago on the pod.
Yep. You did?
Yeah,
Nice.
Rob brought it. Rob Bowman.
Oh, I didn't try that.
Yep.
Okay.
So we actually do that coffee, imperial coffee stout that I was talking about. We do actually a bourbon barrel imperial coffee stout, and it's with the A. Smith Bowman barrels.
Nice. It's 10%. Is that what I'm reading?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Well, 10%. Yep.
I would die, but I would have one. No, I'm sure it's very, very good.
All right. Well, Hank, I want to thank you so much for coming on to Breakfast with Zabills. And folks, you can find him where again? At Rich Brow Brewing. And what's the address?
Rich Brow Brewing, Richmond, Virginia, 5 South 20th Street. Zip is 23223, or you can look us up at richbrowbrewing.com.
Excellent. All right. Like I said, stay on the line and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Go Bills.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Zabills Podcast is a presentation of Kmart Productions, sponsored by MJB Electric and Dudza Chiropractic. Thank you for listening, and if you haven't, please follow, rate, review the show. It helps with the algorithm. Zabills is executively produced by me, Kyle. Executive sound engineering by yours truly, also me. Fundraising, also by Kyle. All artwork executively produced by Avery and Mark Rochon. What the heck is this? All music and lighting executively produced by Kyle. That's more like it.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. Please drive carefully and arrive home safely. Good night. Yeah, baby. Yeah.